Alright guys, so here today I have Pluto. Pluto is a western black king snake. Now what's really special about these guys is king snakes, they get that name because they eat other snakes. In fact, king snakes like Pluto here eat rattlesnakes. They are effectively immune to rattlesnake venom. And so they'll gobble up a rattlesnake and other snakes too in the wild. Though at the Nature Center, we give Pluto rats and mice. It's a little too hard to catch or buy snakes for him to eat. But he likes rats and mice all the same. So y'all can feel his back. He's gonna feel a lot different from other snakes you felt.
He feels like some of those, he feels like some kind of...
He feels smooth.
He is very smooth, yes.
And silky.
Yeah, so snakes can be rough and bumpy, smooth and soft, sometimes lumpy, but they are never slimy. Snakes don't secrete slime.
But a lot of people think that they're slimy.
Can you feel his tail?
That's right, a lot of people do think, yeah, you can touch his tail, just be gentle. A lot of people do think they are slimy, but they are in fact not.
Like my mom.
So salamanders and frogs and snails, those can be slimy, but snakes like Pluto here, never slimy, never ever. So, one thing that is interesting about a snake like Pluto, so being a king snake, he eats rattlesnakes.
Water snakes can do that.
Yeah, water snakes can do that too, they can slither. But he is only immune to rattlesnake venom from the place where he lives in the wild. So these guys are native to Texas, so they are immune to Texas rattlesnake venom. But the venom of a rattlesnake from, say, California or Mexico is different from the venom of a Texas rattlesnake. So if a California rattlesnake bit Pluto here, that could be the end for him, because venom, even between the same species, can be very different depending on where they live. So even here in Texas, two diamondback rattlesnakes, both pretty much the same, except they live in different areas, their venom can be different. And therefore, that can affect snakes that eat them, like these king snakes. Because we have king snakes in Texas, and they're really, really cool. Now, do you have any questions about Pluto or about snakes in general?
Why is he so smooth?
Why is he so smooth? So, unlike one of the other snakes you touched previously, Jethro, his scales are not keeled. In fact, his scales are very soft and pretty much unadorned. They're very smooth. And that just suits him. These guys normally live kind of close to water, and usually when a snake lives close to water, their scales tend to be a little bit smoother. Not always, but sometimes. And that's just how it works for him. He just doesn't need rough scales like a bull snake or like a rattlesnake. It suits him all the same. Anything else? All right, well, one last thing we'll talk about. So I mentioned in a different episode that lizards and snakes are closely related. And that's true. Millions and millions of years ago, snakes had legs like their lizard cousins. Now, obviously they don't anymore. There's not a single snake that has legs. However, if you x-ray certain snakes, that means you look at their skeletons, some of them still have the pelvic bone, which is your hip bone. So that's where the legs used to be millions of years ago. The reason they lost their legs is because they stopped using them. Snakes slither, right? They move around like that. You don't need legs when you move around that way. So their legs became vestigial.
What does that mean?
It just means that it's an organ or body part that is no longer being used. And eventually, over millions of years, these organs that are no longer used usually disappear. So for us, our appendix is vestigial. We don't use it for anything anymore. Millions of years ago, it had a purpose, but now it doesn't. And so maybe in a few more million years, for us humans, our appendix will be completely gone, just like how the legs of snakes are gone. But
Why is he wrapping around you like that?
He just likes to stay warm, and so snakes will often wrap around something that's nice and warm. And you remember, I'm warm-blooded, he's cold-blooded, so I make a nice, warm little place to take a nap or just chill out. All right, any last questions? All right then, well then you can catch us next time on The Pack.